Well, thank you again for joining us, everybody. My name is Trevor James. I'm a staff writer here with the Close, also founder of Modern Agent Coaching. I'm joined by Christopher Toswell. He's the CEO of Addressable, and we're going to be presenting to you AI Won't Replace You, Probably. So let's go ahead and jump in here. Just dive into the agenda a little bit. We'll be talking about the growth of AI, what we've seen over the last year or two, and kind of something that I think we were all excited for with ChatGPT, real estate and AI, of course. How does that relate to real estate? Agents diverse roles, kind of dive into exactly what you guys are struggling with and how AI might be able to help with that. And of course, what's most important of all is nurturing that human connection, right? So we do have a pretty robust Q&A section at the end. So if you've got any questions, definitely jot them down. We are really excited to share our knowledge with you. But let's go ahead and jump in. Chris, I'll hand the mic over to you if you want to go ahead and dive in here about how we've seen technology continue to evolve.
Absolutely. So I think, one of the key things about what I want to get out of this talk for everybody is, there's a lot of hype cycle around AI. People are, obviously excited about it. And much of the sort of talk is around just like, okay, AI is exciting. It's going to change the world. And here are some prompts that you can put in ChatGPT. And that is very decidedly not what this is going to, what I think we're going to cover for the most part. I think that the more information that you have, the more sort of background and data and history, the better you can understand what's going on right now and how it's going to affect the future. And so if we look at these three technologies that are up on the screen, which is fax machine, the email, and ChatGPT, it's a really powerful illustration of what's called the law of diffusion of innovation. And essentially, if you think about it, probably, if everyone wants to put a little hand up emoji, if they've used a fax machine, I'm going to guess a large number of people, just use a type an emoji about folks who've used a fax. So there we go. There we go. Some hands. People have been using faxes. So, most everybody here has probably used a fax machine at some point in their life. And most people have used an email, sent email, obviously. And I think a lot of folks on this call probably use ChatGPT. But what is interesting is that, the technology for the fax machine, which is very game changing for the time, the ability to just transmit information so that you'd have hard copies of documents. It took a long time for folks to adopt it, despite the fact that it was game-changing. It created an incredible amount of value for people. It took like 30, 40 years before it hit widespread adoption. And this has to do with the time it took the culture to pick up the technology and for the technology to spread, and also for them to build enough fax machines, right? And then if you fast forward a little bit, you talk about email, same sort of story, fundamentally game-changing technology, the ability to send information over the web so that people can communicate, having real-time communications that now all of us get, several hundred emails a day. That still took 10, 20 years, depending on how you want to count it, before it really reached any level of adoption. In the 80s until the early 90s, when you had the sort of web clients for email. And so again, you're talking about a very impactful, high value technology, and yet it's, the time for it to be adopted can be measured in decades. Now we come to ChatGPT, which has an interesting distinction of the fastest app to get from 0 to 100 million users globally in just, over a month. And this is because as technology is getting, it's sort of a compounding effect of technology that makes it faster and faster for us to adopt the ideas. And to be clear, and so this is a really great graph here, the idea of AI is nothing new. Whether you're talking about Star Wars or whichever, we've been studying and talking about AI since the 70s and the 80s. I have the interesting distinction that I actually studied AI in college before it was cool in the 2010 or before in the late 2000s.
Yeah, you were with
that's
OK Cupid, right? Is that where you were at before?
That was later. Yeah. Afterwards, I went to OK Cupid and then to Facebook. But in school, I studied AI, and back then it was sort of viewed as a scientific endeavor. Like people were researching the idea of AI. It wasn't yet clear how you could get real business value out of it. And then suddenly, many people feel it's as if it's overnight. Everyone is talking about generative AI, stable diffusion, all of these things that used to be very sort of edge technologies. Your grandmother is probably talking about ChatGPT. And this illustrates this idea that the company OpenAI created the killer app, which is ChatGPT, on the back of a bunch of technology that took decades to get to that point. And then as soon as it hit, it was a sort of flash. And literally in a month's time, we saw it go from 0 to 100 million users. And
Oh, I did want to ask in the chat. I'm just curious for all you agents joining. Have you used ChatGPT? What have you used it for? It doesn't have to be for real estate. I've used it to like write poems and stuff, And if not, why not?
Please, post in the chat how you use it, what your favorite use is. But the important point here is that as this time window is getting smaller and smaller, the impact that it's bringing onto the marketplace is greater, right? You wouldn't conceive of doing business today without using email, but in the 90s, that wasn't the case. Even in the 2000s, a lot of people weren't really on email that much. And so the one of the key sort of takeaways from this talk and what I want to sort of impress upon people is that this technology is not only really impactful, it's moving incredibly fast. And we talk about sort of this exponential growth of the technology, that every few months it is an order of magnitude better than it was. If anybody is following stable diffusion, that's sort of the easiest one to look at. The graphics, like 6 months ago, 9 months ago, you saw all those AI graphics that were coming out where they had the sort of weird looking hands and weird faces, and it didn't make any sense. But now you have these beautiful images that they're winning art competitions, and you struggle to differentiate them from something that a person really took a photo of. And that is sort of thinking about this concept of how AI is getting better. But the key to realize this is not a technology that you can wait years to adopt or decades to adopt, like in the case of email or the fax machine. This is something that is its change is going to be felt over the next months.
Right.
And so that is sort of the important bit here.
Yeah, I think with GPT 3.5 and then evolving into 4.0, it's hard to explain exactly how much that exponential growth, you and I were chatting about, like if you envisioned 3.5 as like a volleyball in a baseball diamond, 4.0 is something equal to like an Olympic-sized swimming pool amount of knowledge, compared to a volleyball. So it's just so exciting to see that development over just 1 year, I do want to shout out here, just in case anybody hasn't been using ChatGPT for their real estate practice yet or not. I saw a couple people haven't been introduced to it yet. It is free. You can go on OpenAI and sign up for an account and give it a try. But I just want to shout out some good ideas here that I saw in the chat of writing agent bios, using it for business plans, help with writing your ads, or help with writing your video scripts, listing descriptions. Someone said it took them less than 1 minute. So a lot of ways that you can use ChatGPT in real estate specifically. If you guys haven't jumped on, like Chris said, we're seeing this adoption faster than any other technology that we've seen before. It's free. It's super easy to use. Should take you less than 5 minutes to set up. If you get nothing out of this talk, go play around with ChatGPT this afternoon.
And I think just to sort of put a little bit more of a point on that, I think one of the things that it blends well into right here, when you can go to ChatGPT or any of these AI solutions, and you can say, hey, write me a listing description, or write me a bio, or write me a business plan. But I think that the real magic happens the more iterative you get with the system, because the key with how those AIs work is that it takes a lot of the heavy lifting and the endeavor of making a full product, right? Normally, if you're an engineer and you're building something, you make a prototype out of an idea, right? You basically, how can we prove out an idea and do a lightweight version of a thing? And then you say, okay, I'm testing to figure out what are the bits that matter most. And then you build a higher fidelity version of the thing, and then a higher fidelity version of the thing from there. And you slowly go up levels of resolution. But with the AI, because it's so fast at generating the whole thing, you could iterate really quickly on that final version or something that's close to that final version. So you can do this sort of high fidelity iteration of your ideas, because you're like, okay, chat, write me this business plan. And so it throws together some bullet points of a business plan. And then you can go through each of those points and have it refine them with you in real time. And so the more it becomes a conversation where you're iterating on the thing, as opposed to, sometimes folks will, write a prompt and ask the system just to generate the final thing for them, and they may or may not be happy with the result. The more context that you can provide for it, and the more sort of back and forth and this iterative approach that you take, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later with some of our tooling, the better outcomes you're going to have, because that's what this system is really well tuned for, which is how can you produce an idea, share it, edit it, come back. And the better you get at that motion, the better outcomes you're going to get from the system.
Definitely. And I think we've seen that with ChatGPT specifically around education, and English teachers saying, well, we can now generate an entire essay on Of Mice and Men and talk about the themes of that. And you can do that. But now we're seeing more, okay, we'll generate that in class and then go for your homework and critique it and analyze it and figure out how you can tell the AI to make it better, because that's where we're seeing in 20 years is, like you said, helping these AI bots to figure out exactly what you're doing. So when I use ChatGPT, for example, I love this feature where you can go in there and kind of give it context around what you're using it for now. So I let it know I'm a content writer. I base around real estate and technology, all that stuff. So when I input anything in, it'll automatically say, because you're a content writer, here's what I think would be applicable for you. And I can say, thanks, ChatGPT. I appreciate that. There was a study I was reading yesterday saying ChatGPT actually does give you better, higher quality answers when you're nicer to it. When you actually say, thanks for that idea. That was a good idea. Let's continue brainstorming, because at the end of the day, while it is a computer and it's not rational, it is still built on our ideas. And as you're saying, it's generating this. It knows the positivity aspect of that will get you better results. So something to keep in mind as you guys are continuing to work with ChatGPT. I saw that yesterday and thought was really interesting. So let's dive into this slide here. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
I was just one more bit sort of on that, because I think it's a really great point. The way I often try and describe it to new folks is that large language models like ChatGPT are kind of like a golden retriever, in that they really want to make you happy. They want to do the thing that their human is asking them to do. Now, they might not always understand what that request is, and sometimes they'll destroy your sofa, but they're trying. And so the key is that the more context that you can provide and in a very structured way, the better the outcomes you're going to get with the large language model, and the less likely you are to have it destroy your couch. And there was a article, I think it came out 2 or 3 months ago, where a college professor basically said, hey, I tried to have ChatGPT write a bio for me, and it hallucinated a bunch of awards that I never had,
Yes,
and a bunch of details that aren't true. Yeah. And they were trying to basically say, hey, this tool doesn't work because it came up with some stuff. And the challenge is that's just around not using the tool correctly and not providing enough context in the structured way. Again, going back to this sort of idea that the large language model is your golden retriever, and it's just trying to do what you asked it to do. And so, because if you ask it to write a bio for you, and you say, okay, I'm Chris Toswell, I'm the CEO and founder of Addressable, I have a degree in software engineering from RIT, write me a bio. And if that's all the context that I provided, then what it's going to do is it's going to say, okay, well, I know what startup founders are like. I know what RIT is. I know what a software engineer is. And it's going to try to fill in the gaps between those things, because it really struggles to differentiate between fact and fiction when you just tell it to write something. Because you can ask it to write you a short story, and you can ask it to write you a bio, and you can ask it to write you a bio for a character in a short story. And so unless you're explicit about providing the context, it will struggle to know when you're asking it about fact versus if you're just trying to have it write you a story.
Yeah.
And I think that is an area where people really fall down when they're approaching this tech, because they just don't provide enough information in the right way, and then they'll assume that it understands them.
Yeah, you do have to talk to it specifically, but you can put information. I'll do often like bullet points. If you misspell simple words, it'll still understand you. I think they made a lot of breakthroughs with that. So it's interesting to see how it'll continue to evolve. Right here, I've just put a quick chronological timeline of what we've seen over AI at the last 6 years or so. And kind of delving into real estate a little bit. I know we've got ChatGPT at the end, but wanted to point out some of these technologies because I think, just want to get your juices flowing on exactly what AI looks like in the real estate realm. So in 2015, we saw the launch of HomeBot. HomeBot was really based around the, being able to analyze exactly what a person's home is worth and then nurture your sphere with that. So you can send your clients an email every month automatically on what their home's worth. They can choose if they want to cash out or if they want to move. But it was based kind of on the same thing with the Zillow's estimate, and we thought that's where things were going. So 2017, we saw Remine making a move into predictive analytics, and saying, well, we know people usually stay in a home for about 7 years. These folks are now in their late 50s. They probably got kids that moved out in a 4 or 5 bedroom. They'll probably be downsizing soon. So you can give agents a list of who's most likely to sell when, and they integrate with a lot of MLSs. You guys might know them. 2020, we had virtual tours. So, you can think Zillow 3D Home, the Matterport tours, of course, being able to actually walk around a home, and the virtual staging. I remember using Box Brownie in 2018, and it was not great, but things have improved significantly since then. As we're talking about Stable Diffusion, and we're talking about images and being able to really see these graphics cards be able to handle the loads that we're giving them. In 2022, I put Addressable on here. Addressable was founded in 2020. But 2022, I put it on here because you guys have now integrated fully with ChatGPT, which is so exciting to see. And I think really, really leveled up everything that you're doing over there in terms of being able to nurture your sphere, being able to keep in touch with neighborhoods, anything you want to do, and most importantly, tracking your marketing. So I do want to make a little bit of a touch on iBuyers. Chris and I were talking about AI in real estate, and we both wanted to touch on iBuyers for you guys and just say, it seemed like the industry was headed that way, right? Like it seemed like predictive analytics were going to be the future. And it turns out turned out to be much more generative. iBuying seems to be the future. And I think COVID accelerated that with people not wanting their homes to be listed. But at the end of the day, these companies are not really around anymore. I worked for Zillow Offers and saw it firsthand on how much money they were burning through. People want to be able to list their home with an agent. They want to be able to talk this stuff through. And most of these prices may or may not be on point. AI, while it's pretty cool, can't necessarily see the home 2 blocks away is actually worth $200,000 more because it is in a different neighborhood or it's across the street. So I want to point out iBuying doesn't seem to be going away. Opendoor and Orchard are still around, but something I don't want you guys to worry about at all because we saw the delve into that.
Yeah,
and it's gonna work out.
I think just the last one on that bit, which take the sort of talk. Michael Del Prete was mentioning this earlier this year, and I think it's a really important and powerful point, which is, so today there are more technologies to learn about properties than ever before. There are more ways of listing and selling a property than ever before, right? The consumer has a whole myriad of different things out there, from Opendoor through OfferPad and everything in between. And yet, if you look at the data, homeowners are listing with an agent 90% of the time. I think it's 92 actually. And that's the highest rate in 30 years. So despite the fact that there's more technology out there, more options for the consumer to say, okay, I want to sell it on some platform, they're choosing to work with an agent. And that's sort of that piece that's really important, because consumers want data. They love to look at homes on Zillow. They love to know about the stats of their property from HomeBot and things like that. But when it actually comes to the time of buying or selling the property, because for most people, it's the majority of their net worth. Mm-hmm. It's everything they have. And frankly, as I'm sure many agents can attest on this webinar, when it comes to that, people get a little skittish, maybe a little irrational about what's happening with their home, what's happening with their listing, etc. And the role of the real estate agent is a really important one, where you're there as their expert. I like to say Sherpa, to help them get through this journey, this emotional journey of buying and selling a home. And because of this, because you can look at the last 30 years and the fact that there's so many technologies out there that are trying to replace agents or trying to disintermediate agents, and have been unsuccessful, it's, in my mind, proof positive, at least for the next foreseeable future, that the agent and their role, because it is so focused on human connection, about the thing that makes us irrational people, the agent is secure from automation, where other roles that might be replaced by AI aren't. And that's sort of, as we zoom all the way out, talking about why AI is going to have a lot of impact on the agent and their business. But at the end of the day, so long as the agent stays up on this technology, I think that their role is very secure.
100% agree. 100% agree. I mean, I've been coaching agents for a while now. And the thing I see time and time again is there's always a conversation that comes down to an agent and their client, and the agent helps them set things straight, helps them realize what they actually needed. If it's a client just talking to ChatGPT, like you said, ChatGPT is just going to appease you no matter what. I had a client that was dead set. He wanted to live downtown. Didn't want to spend more than $250,000 to do it. Do you know how hard that is? It's impossible. So,
Yep.
we tour a couple of crappy places, and, I keep saying, hey, let's look outside in the suburbs a little bit. Let's look. And, this happened right before COVID and the shutdown. So it ended up being really good timing for him. We found the place in the suburbs. I sat down and I was like, why do you want to live downtown? You don't really go out much. I get that it's active. He ended up closing on the place in the suburbs, was so happy about it. But he would have never had the opportunity to have that conversation just person to person, client to agent, if he was working with a company or he was working with himself, and just kind of like looking at homes that he was mildly interested in. So I think it's important as agents that we remember you have to be that Sherpa for your clients. You have to guide them through this because you've seen it time and time again. People buy and sell homes maybe 3-4 times in their lifetime. I think it's like 4.2 is the average. So you did this every month. They trust you innately. Right now, I want to do a quick activity and kind of hear from you guys on what your agent roles and your day-to-day look like. So you've got kind of the 8 different roles and the way that you fill your days with clients, with lead generation, with events, with figuring out your listings, doing your marketing. And you can kind of see on the bottom left of your screen, just kind of a quick poll on what do you struggle with most out of those different roles? Which one do you feel like you need help with?
I think this is, and the role of the real estate agent is unique for a number of them, but a number of reasons. But I think one of the pretty amazing things is that agents just wear so many hats, right? Whereas independent contractors, most agents are responsible for every role of running an entire business. And if you were running it like a startup, you'd have 10 different people doing all of those things.
Right.
And even when you have I'm just giving them time to sort of fill out the poll. Even if you're on part of a team, you may have some support from like an admin or a marketing person, but still you're running a full sales cycle. You're managing your CRM, you're managing your marketing, you're following up with past clients and doing client care. This is the full 360 of a business. And depending on what brokerage you're with, they may or may not be providing you with resources, marketing resources, etc. Some are more full service and giving you marketing support, and others, you're more or less on your own.
Yeah, definitely.
And so it's impressive what agents have to do.
It is. Looking at our poll here, it looks like we've got lead gen at 45% and marketing and branding at 19% are the two. So I think, Chris, you kind of called it with the marketing and branding aspect of it. I'm curious with lead gen. Well, plug for the close here. If you need help with any of these things, we've got a great article, 30 underrated ideas for lead gen. We'll go ahead and post that in the chat, as well as 8 marketing companies. Addressable is one of those great ones that we mentioned that can help you with your branding. I think overall, clients is up there too. Clients just climbed up. So keeping in mind, like when you're saying, okay, I have a weak point with lead gen, or that was always my struggle too, was lead gen, or I'm weak with my marketing and branding. How can you lean into these AI tools to help you? I think first and foremost, figure out what time you're spending or what exactly you need to be doing, generate your business strategy there, and kind of work backwards. So being able to kind of look at lead gen, you can have that conversation with ChatGPT and say like, okay, here's the amount of money I want to make. Here's the average amount that I get per sale. And then ask it, this is what I like doing. I like going to events, or I like hosting a webinar, or I like hosting open houses, or I need, limited options. There's also a really cool tip that I want to throw out for ChatGPT for you guys, which is go to any article like on the close, take that article, cut and paste it into ChatGPT. It will summarize it for you. Or you can say, okay, here's the things that I really like or what I like doing. Which one of these elements in this article do you think would work best for me? And it'll kind of give you that answer of like, oh, well, I can see, these are the 2 ideas in there that would probably be best for you. So a lot of different ways that you can use ChatGPT specifically, or AI. A bunch of AI tools are out there for marketing and branding. Curator is a great one that can help you kind of beef things up. Any other great tools that I might be missing out there, Chris, that you want to throw out?
Well, I was going to say that beyond the tooling, and there's lots of great tools, and the major impact of AI and automation in general. And I'm excited to say Addressable is now #1 on Google for real estate marketing automation. We won top
Love to
place on
hear it.
Google.
That's
So
awesome.
That's proud of that. The key with marketing is consistency and measurement. One of the challenging things with agents and having so many different roles is that, if you're an agent and you ignore a listing, the homeowner is definitely going to call you and text you and say, what's going on? What's the next step? That they're, nervous about their home being sold. And so they're going to follow up with you, right? And the same thing is if you're working with buyers, they're going to ask you about when's the next home they can look at, what's the plan, is their offer getting accepted? They're gonna follow up with you. And so your marketing is not a squeaky wheel. It's not going to say, hey, you haven't sent me out in the last 6 months, or last 6 weeks or 6 months or whatever. And it becomes very easy that you get so caught up in all of the things that are going on of your listings, of the conversations, that your marketing is the first thing that sort of falls by the wayside. And that consistency is the hardest thing for many agents that I talk to. And if you get nothing out of these AI tools, the idea that you can set a plan up and set systems up so that whatever you're doing is happening every month or every other week or whatever cadence you want to get to. But it's happening several times over the course of the year. One of the bits that I, when I'm talking with agents and advising them, they're often looking at marketing and thinking about, okay, I'm doing this next outreach blast in 2 weeks or next month or whichever,
right?
But they're doing it in a one-off sort of way. They're not thinking about the strategy holistically. And so with these tools, with managing your marketing, it's about the sort of making it more consistent and ultimately measurable. This is great too.
Definitely. And I think we're going to touch on that further on a couple of slides down on exactly how to measure your marketing and what that looks like. A lot of great tools out there and strategies. I think it's really, really important for you guys to figure out exactly where your marketing dollars are going and are they working, and staying consistent, like Chris says. Of course, more than anything else, it's about the human connection. At the end of the day, I want you guys to ask yourself, why did I get into real estate? And how can I help fulfill that every day? If this is most of the time, and when I ask my clients that, the answer is, I want to help people. This is free. It gives me the flexibility. I have the free time during the day to do what I need to do, which is one of the beauties of real estate. But overall, I think a big aspect of it is a lot of us are extroverts and a lot of us want to be able to connect with people. And I think some of the most impactful times that I've had in my professional life have been when I've helped real estate clients. I've helped, a mother dying of cancer, help her daughter purchase a condo so she knows she's set up. I've been such an integral part of these people's lives, even though, like you said, it's only a 6-week Sherpa trip, right? Like that 6 weeks makes a difference. And I want you guys to know it is the human connection. Like, yeah, you can pick up your phone at 7 o'clock at night, but there's AI tools and there's a bunch of software out there that can do that for you. What can you actually bring your clients, and what can you say to them? Like I said, when I had the client who was so dead set on moving downtown, and now we still talk on the phone about once a month. I give him a call and see how things are going. He's still in the same place, looking at moving. He just got engaged. And he's always saying, like, thank God I didn't move downtown because COVID happened and all of that. But even so, it's about that human connection and just picking up the phone. And I know so many of the younger agents that are watching this probably may say, like, talking on the phone is so overrated. It's not. I know that sounds ridiculous, but picking up the phone and it's just like a random phone call and talking to someone for 10 minutes, you will stick out in their minds more than any other agent that they connect with. I think it's really, really important aspect. Anything else that I'm missing here in terms of connection?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're totally on the money. I think that the other thing to sort of underscore in the context of this AI revolution is, if you think about it, everybody on this webinar probably believes that they get too much email right now. We probably all feel that we get too many spam emails today. The average consumer gets something like 170 emails a day, which is insane. And if you go on Google today and you're searching for some sort of product, like you're trying to find a new vacuum cleaner, right? And you say, Google, like, what's the best vacuum cleaner? Or even, yeah, or what's the best restaurant? But if you search for a product, you suddenly find that all of your Google hits are all these SEO optimized blog posts, right? That the majority of the front page of Google now is all of this content that was very much tuned by the companies selling products, so that when you search for the thing, you find their article, right? And so much of the content that we're experiencing today is this advertising content. And with AI coming out, with this generative AI content making it easier and easier to create 50 emails, create 12 blog posts about vacuum cleaners, send out, make Facebook posts, generate images for Facebook posts and taglines. Like, all of these sorts of pieces of content are becoming easier and easier to generate. And the challenge is going to be, and we're already seeing it to a degree, but it's just going to get louder over the next 6 months, year, 18 months, is that these channels, which are already very full of optimized advertising content, are going to get that much louder, are going to get that much more full. You're going to get that much more emails. And so you need to double down on this human connection. You need to be able to reach your customers, your clients, and reinforce the relationship that you have with them. Because if you've been relying on sending out a marketing email once a month that is a market update email, and you don't have a lot of engagement on it, you don't have a real personal relationship with your clients, you're going to probably see that sort of gets tuned out more over the next 6 to 12
your
months.
open rate will be like 1%.
Exactly. It's just gonna get louder. The next 6 to 12 months, 18 months are going to be one in which digital just gets louder and louder. And so that's why focusing on your local community, focusing on building connection and tools that cut through the noise and build this human connection are essential to win over the next several years.
Definitely. Oh, we've got a fun activity for you guys here. Chris, take it away.
Sure. So, beyond AI, I think one of the bits is actually, I won't lead with the punchline here. Everybody, if you could please raise your hand and keep it up. So just raise your hand and keep it up so long as the answer to my question is yes. All right. So keep your hand up. Do you have a cell phone? There you go. Hands up. Cell phone. Awesome. Is your cell phone number on your business card? Hands are probably still up. Yep. See the hands up. Awesome. So your cell phone number is on your business card. All right. Is your cell phone number in your email signature? Yes, your cell phone number is in your email signature. Great. Is your cell phone number on your yard sign? Yep. Looks like folks, their cell phone number is on their yard sign. Is your cell phone number in your handout at open houses? So whatever sort of pamphlet or brochure you hand out at open houses. Yep. It looks like your cell phone number is on your handout at open houses. And so when your cell phone rings, you have no idea if they saw it from your email signature, from your direct mail, your yard sign, came to an open house out of your email. And so when your phone rings, you don't know what of your marketing is working and what is not. And so before you even think about how to use AI to optimize your marketing, you need to be able to measure your marketing. That is the most critical thing in all of this, because you can have the most sophisticated system for generating content, but if you can't measure what the outcome of that content is, you don't know if it's working. You don't know if that message is resonating with your audience. And so this is a space that Addressable cares about a lot, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about. And to be clear, you can do all of this without Addressable. You can do this on your own, and I highly recommend coming up with a solution for it. So there are lots of digital phone number solutions out there. You can use Google Voice. There's a bunch of different products out there, but you want to have a different phone number for different channels so that you can have attribution on where they're coming from. Similarly, you want to generate unique QR codes for your direct mail campaigns, because you want to know, hey, I sent this market update letter, or I sent this open house invitation. What is getting more engagement? Or I talked about tips on how best to sell a home, how best to prepare your home for the winter. What is the message that I'm sending out there that is resonating with my community? Same thing with tracking URLs, Bitly. There's a bunch of technologies out there for this. But before you go down the path of trying to optimize everything with AI, the level one step is you need to be able to measure your marketing so that when you get a lead, you understand where it's coming from, and you can double down on that. So you can focus your energies on the things that are working and stop doing the things that are not.
Love it. Love it. Any more of the top features of Addressable that you'd really like to chat about here?
Yeah.
And for those who may not know what Addressable is, Chris, I'll kind of give you the floor for a quick elevator pitch.
Absolutely. And so, the key on this whole talk is it was not intended to be a pitch for Addressable. I believe that what you can get out of this call will help your business, no matter if you choose to use my product or not. Essentially, what Addressable is trying to do is help you save time by automating key parts of your business with AI and robots and digital lead tracking. Essentially, we've created a complete solution for acquiring listing leads. By our primary channel is using a handwritten A7 card that we deploy into markets when you sell a property or have a listing. And we've helped generate over $2.2 billion worth of listings for agents across the country, 44 states, since 2020. And you'll see that we're rolling out new tools all the time. I was very flattered to have the Close did a full write-up on Addressable, which you can find on their website. I think we got 4.6 stars out of 5, which is phenomenal. And they did a really good video walkthrough, so you can see all the tools that we provide. One that I'd like to highlight is our listing architect, because it's obviously the sort of AI in the AI space. So you can go to ChatGPT and you can ask ChatGPT to write you a listing description, but you'll often find that it will hallucinate bedrooms and tell you about things that aren't there. And it can be a lot of back and forth with it to get anything of value. And so we spend a lot of time thinking about how could you build the best system using AI for writing a listing description. And I believe we have it. And it comes actually entirely free with our overall platform. So if you buy Addressable, you get the listing architect for free as our thanks to you. And essentially, there is no prompt. You don't give it a prompt at all. You basically just provide it a set of photographs and a bulleted list of features, and it will write the listing description for you. And it writes what I would say is a magazine quality listing description. It understands pacing and style, and it always ends it with a call to action for the homeowner or for the prospect to call you to learn more, to book a showing. And so, there's lots of ways out there, and lots of ways of the general tools out there for using AI. But Addressable is focused on residential real estate, and
I'm just curious for our international viewers here, Chris. We've got a question in the chat: is Addressable available in the UK?
Not yet, unfortunately. So we're right now very much focused on the U.S. market. We are looking ultimately to expand to Canada and Europe, but that'll be a bit further out.
I hear that. Well, exciting things to come for sure, and check out Addressable. But I do want to leave you with the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Once again, you got into real estate for a reason. Keep that in your heart and why you do this. It's going to be tough. I know that. You should see a free ebook pop up on your screen right now, The AI Advantage, How Real Estate Agents Can Thrive in the Digital Age. Go ahead and click that. You'll be able to download that PDF, 10 chapters, fully on all the different kind of tools and softwares that are out there. It's a really great ebook. So I'm excited for you guys to grab that. And a couple of questions in the chat. Is this being archived for future viewing? We will have this posted later this week or early next week on YouTube, as well as some of the shorts on Instagram and YouTube shorts. So keep a lookout. Follow us on social for further viewings there. But it should be available later this week or early next week. Otherwise, right now, we'd love to open it up to any questions and answers that, our Q&A session. Let's see, I'm going to click over here. Got a couple. Do you have tools for loan officers? HomeBot is a great tool for loan officers. Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah, HomeBot is great. I mean, you can, it works the same way as it does for agents. And I think it's probably even more useful for loan officers because there's like a fun little section there where people are like, if I refied my home, what can I afford? And it's like, well, you'll get $17,000. You could afford an international trip. You could afford a boat or, pay off your car, all that fun stuff. So definitely check that out. Any other tools that you'd like to throw out, Chris?
I mean, I would say that we have customers, or our primary customers are residential real estate agents and teams. However, we have folks, anytime you're talking about a high value relationship, our technology can be applied. And so we have folks in financial services and others, and we have loan officers using us. It's not quite as focused on that use case, but we've helped generate lots of business for folks in many industries.
Yeah, definitely. I could definitely see that. Any other questions that anybody had in the chat that you want to check about with AI and real estate related, or anything AI related? Doesn't have to be real estate specifically.
Yeah, I'm always down to talk about the history and how we got here. I think we sort of covered it, but I think that it's really fascinating. And the more you know about the past and the patterns that have happened, the better you can try to understand what's coming up.
Oh, there's a good one here. What about the concerns related to misinformation that AI may convey if we're not always watching?
Absolutely. So hallucinations are a very real problem. And one of the ways that we work on doing that is we don't have agents enter prompts at all, because how you structure a prompt can really control the output. And so by instead focusing on what are the inputs, in our case of the listing architect, you provide a list of features and some photographs, and it does all the work for you. Similarly, our copy tool, you describe what type of copy you're looking for. Like, oh, I'm writing for a young family who are looking to move into the city because of a new job, something like that. And so you give it sort of context on what you're trying to do, and then it will produce the content on the other side, because how you structure the prompt matters a lot for the output that you get. Similarly, it's always, we always need to be vigilant, because as I talked about the golden retriever, that is what the large language models are. Right. They're just trying to do what you said. And so paying attention to how you're saying it, and then paying attention to the output is important. You should never just post something raw from ChatGPT without looking it over. That is a recipe for disaster. Thinking about it. Sorry. Yeah.
No, I'm saying like don't ever just cut and paste from ChatGPT. Let's see. We've got one more that I wanted to talk about here. Is there okay? Well, this one, Gladys, which predictive analytics do you use to identify possible sellers? I just wanted to kind of throw this tool out there. I know I had mentioned Remind, but Remind, if it's not available with your MLS, there's a place called Catalyze AI. They look at inheritance listings and people who have recently, essentially inherited these probate listings and don't want to handle the monthly payment on it, or may not even be in the same state. So definitely give Catalyze AI a look. And then another question, what about virtual reality home tours? Is there a way to integrate AI? And I want to say I'm really excited about home tours in general with Apple's headset launching in January, along with Oculus. I've been to some conferences where you can actually like set up your own kind of listing staging. So imagine hosting a virtual open house that people can actually come and visit, walk around in. You as an agent can determine where the stuff goes. It's all virtual anyway, and it's literally just like you pick it up and you put a couch there. It's really, really cool stuff. So I think yes, we've had headsets and AI for a while now. Oculus has been okay, but I think with Apple entering the field in a couple of years, we'll see that price start to come down. We'll see that filter down to consumer levels. And I think these type of events like webinars, like virtual open houses, ways to educate and get your voice out and your brand out to your clients is what's going to be more impactful than anything else.
I agree. I think I wanted to circle back on the sort of predictive analytics bit. There's a company, I'm trying to remember their name, but they basically look at your database and they try and go through the database to find folks who may be potential prospects from your past list. I'm trying to remember the name of that company, but I think that's a really good idea. I think that with tools that are trying to predict like a marketing farm sort of thing, I always caution agents about that, because part of it is just reaching enough folks to get statistical significance to get enough results, right? And so if you imagine like a community of 1,000 households or something like that, like a neighborhood, right? You can use an algorithm that is trying to predict of those 1,000 folks who are the 5 most likely to sell, right? But it's probably better for you to hit most of the households in that community, those folks who've owned the home over 2 years, let's say, who have more than 20% home equity, whatever sort of metrics there are. Because one of the challenges that you run into from the predictive analytics side, and I've looked at this a fair bit, is that a lot of home selling is done by life events, and many life events happen upon people rather fast. So they lose their job, or they get a job, or they get married, and from that event happening to when they make the decision to buy and sell can actually be a relatively short period of time. And so you want to make sure that you're the top of mind agent when that event happens. And so if you're waiting to deploy your marketing till after the system has figured out whether or not it thinks somebody is going to sell, you may very well miss them. And because of how high the ROI is from deploying your marketing, ensuring that you're having a good level of consistent outreach to a reasonable size audience, that's actually going to be a better strategy than trying to pick the 5 best lottery tickets out of the bunch. So I would just think about that. Think about making sure that you're having a broad enough reach to get the results that you're trying to have.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining our webinar today. That hour went so quick. I have no idea where it went. If we didn't get to your question, we will respond via email. You can view the recording. It should be sent to you via email later today or tomorrow, and we'll have it up on our socials later this week. Thank you so much, and take care. Hope to see you for the next one.
Thank you so much, Trevor. It was a pleasure.